Hi there, today's video is a follow-on from this blog post where I'll show you a very cool use case for ChatGPT to help us identify bot submissions to our form fills. And this post continues on from this previous video here where we integrate ChatGPT with Zapier, and this previous video where I show you how to make ChatGPT API requests using Marketo webhooks. So you can check these out as precursors to watching this video. But for today's use case, I'm not going to go through any of the stuff covered in these videos. You can check those out for all the fundamentals. The issue we are trying to solve is that Marketo's native CAPTCHA integration is not foolproof. So for example, we clearly have this spam request made by a robot where we can see that the forms filled out are just complete gibberish. However, Marketo gives it a CAPTCHA raw score of 0.9, so it comes out as trusted. And then on the other side of this, we will get genuine form fills. We'll get genuine form fills where it's a good email address. They put something that makes sense in the additional information field. They're looking for SIM cards for vehicle tracking. And then Marketo gives it a CAPTCHA raw score of 0.1. And then this becomes an issue if you use Marketo's CAPTCHA scores in your automation. So say, for example, here, we will only hand this person off to sales, or we will only MQL them if their CAPTCHA normalized score is not suspicious. So if you depend on Marketo's CAPTCHA scoring in your automation, then this could lead you to missing out on genuine contact sales form fills. So this is why it's such an issue. And today I'm going to show you how we can use ChatGPT to identify bot form fills so that we have a method that is closer to being 100% accurate. Okay, in this previous video, I show you guys how to set up the GPT for Sheets and Docs Chrome extension. And I show you how to get your ChatGPT API key, which you need for setup. So check out this video around minute 4 to see how to do all of that, because we are going to need it in this video, because before we bring our ChatGPT prompt into Marketo and use it in a Marketo webhook, we first need to make sure that the results we get from this prompt are correct. And the way we do that is using Google Sheets. So what we do is we export from Marketo a number of leads who have submitted the form we are interested in, and we export all the field values for the fields they submitted in the form. So in this example here, I've got about 20 leads and I've got all the values they submitted to the contact sales form. And then I join them all together in column H here using a simple Google Sheets formula. And I manually created a column in column A to determine whether the form fill was a bot or not. So I manually went through each submission and put a 1 if it was a bot form fill, which is clear by all these series of consecutive random characters. And then I put a 0 in where I could tell it was a genuine contact sales request. So then what I do is, using the GPT for Sheets and Docs Chrome extension that I mentioned before, I use the GPT formula that this Chrome extension provides, and I send it all the form fill information that was submitted along with the prompt. So in this case, I've got the prompt defined in column I here, and I say, given this information submitted to the contact sales form, determine whether the submission was a genuine submission or whether it was submitted by a bot. And I also tell it to format the answer in a particular way. And then we get the output response here. And then what I do is I have a static column here. So once GPT runs, I copy these values and then I just go paste special and then I go values only. And the reason for this is that every time you open up the sheet, it'll cause these formula columns to recalculate and use more API requests. So once I've got the answers from this column, I just paste all the values in here so that this formula doesn't run again, because it costs you money every time you run a ChatGPT API request. So let's save us some money and just paste all the values into the static column. And then I've got a simple formula that extracts whether the submission was marked as genuine or a bot. And I put that in column K. And then I extract the reason for ChatGPT's answer and I put that in column L. And these are both coming from the static field here. And then I've got a simple formula here which says, I've got a simple formula which determines whether the value or the classification from ChatGPT matches my determination of whether the form fill was a bot. So if this says 0 and ChatGPT classification is genuine, then it's true. Or if this says 1 and the ChatGPT classification is bot, then this will also output true. And then this column here, or this cell here, just computes the number of matches that appear in this column. And I can see that there's a 90% match rate here between the value given by ChatGPT and my manual classification of whether the form fill was from a bot. And we can use this formula. We can use the formula in this column and the formula in this cell to iteratively test our prompts. So what we'll do is we'll just duplicate this sheet and then we'll have a new sheet here. And all we have to do is change the prompt in column I, and then we'll get different responses from ChatGPT. And then again, we can take these values from the formulas. We're just going to paste in the values only so that this formula does not rerun every time we open the sheet. And then again, we've got formulas in column K and column L that extract GPT's classification and the reason. And then we've got our output formula here, which counts the number of times ChatGPT agrees with my bot classification. So we can see we get a 100% match here, and so on and so forth. We can keep duplicating these tabs and entering in new prompts, and we should see better and better values for the match rate here. And then once we're happy with the match rate, we know our prompt is what we need. We can then import this prompt and send it in a Marketo webhook to classify whether the form submission was done by a bot or a human. If you want to duplicate this sheet and pull in your own leads and test out your own prompts, then you can come to the bot identification using ChatGPT section of this blog post, and I link to the Google Sheet here. So feel free to go there and duplicate that Google Sheet so that you can start testing your own prompts with your own leads. And I also give you the prompt I found to be most effective at identifying these bot submissions. So you can copy and paste that prompt straight into your Marketo webhook and get the same results that I've been getting. And the next part is once we're happy with our prompt. So as I mentioned, you can either use this prompt here, which I found to be effective, or after your own testing, you can copy and paste your prompt from your Google Sheet into your Marketo webhook. And in this blog post here, in the Marketo webhook to make ChatGPT API request section, I show you how to set up a webhook in Marketo to send a ChatGPT API request. So follow this section here to get your webhook set up and to get your API key from your ChatGPT account. And once you have that, and once you have your prompt, you will paste your prompt into the content section. And then you'll enter your API key in the authorization section. And then the final part of this is we are going to take the output from ChatGPT and store it in a field called dummy3. So when we get a response from ChatGPT, the value we're looking for is stored in this content parameter. And the way we access the value from this content parameter is using this syntax. We are going to get the first index in the choices array, then we're going to go to the message parameter, and then we're going to go to the content parameter. So what this looks like here is we've got the choices array, we're going to get the first value in the choices array, which is this whole blob here. So that's what choices 0 does. And then we're going to go to the message parameter. And within the message parameter, we're going to go to content and extract the answer from ChatGPT as to whether the submission was a bot or not. And then we're going to store that value from ChatGPT in the dummy3 field. And this is the field we are going to use in our smart campaigns to determine whether we should do things like mark the lead as disqualified if it's a bot, or if we should hand the lead off to sales and MQL them if it's a genuine sales request. One important thing to note here is that you should probably use form URL encoding in the request token encoding section. And the reason for this is that when you get a submission to one of your forms, the people could enter characters in that form submission that will cause your payload template to break JSON syntax. So then when the webhook tries to send to ChatGPT, you'll get an error that will cause the webhook to fail because it did not adhere to JSON syntax. So in order to account for any random characters or other things that people would enter in your forms, we're going to use form URL encoding to make sure that whatever they input, it will not cause our webhook to break JSON. It will not cause our webhook to break JSON syntax. So we're going to use form URL encoding. And because of this, we need to let ChatGPT know that the information we're sending it has been URL encoded. So you'll notice here in this prompt, I say, please note that the form information has been URL encoded. So you'll need to decode the content before making your assessment. That's why I have this line of code in here, because we are going to use the form URL encoding when sending these tokens to ChatGPT. Now that we have our webhook set up in Marketo, we are ready to start using it in smart campaigns. So in this example smart campaign, in our smart list, it's just a simple fills out form contains contact sales. And the very first thing we do is we make our call to the ChatGPT sales classification webhook. And then you'll remember that this is going to populate the dummy3 field with the response from ChatGPT. So once we have this value, we then see if dummy3 contains bot in square brackets, we are going to remove the person from this campaign. Or if it does not contain bot in square brackets, we're going to continue down the rest of the flow and then carry out actions like sending an alert, sending a notification to Slack, MQLing the person, handing the person off to sales, etc., etc. And the reason I use square brackets around bot here, and the reason I asked ChatGPT to format the answer as either bot in square brackets or genuine in square brackets, is because sometimes in the reason that ChatGPT gives us, it will say, this form submission does not look like it was submitted by a bot because, or this form submission looks genuine because it was X, Y, or Z. So the fact, if we just try to trigger off if dummy3 contains bot like this, then that could lead to errors because ChatGPT could say something like, this does not look like a bot submission because the person has a valid email address. And in that case, dummy3 would contain bot, but ChatGPT has not classified that submission as a bot submission. So that's why it's very important to use the square brackets here and to ask ChatGPT to give you that answer with bot in square brackets or genuine in square brackets. And this is what you'll use in your smart campaigns for filtering on whether it was a bot or not. Okay, and another smart campaign we can have is just whenever ChatGPT marks someone as bot, then we know the dummy3 field will have its data value change to contain bot in square brackets. So then in the flow, we can just add them to a simple static list. And I also recommend you can also have smart lists, which see when the webhook is called and the response not contains bot, this will show all the genuine requests that you've had. So then you can quickly scan through here to see if the submissions look genuine, which they do. And then similarly, you can have a smart list which says the webhook is called and the response contains bot. And then you can scan through those people and make sure that the filtering you have in place is working correctly. And there you have it. That's how you can build a webhook in Marketo to send form fill information to ChatGPT to determine whether the form fill was a bot submission. And if you want some follow-ons from this post, you can check out the Marketo lead scoring blog post where I show you how you could use ChatGPT for scoring the inbound leads to your website. And if you want to learn more about APIs, I've got the Demystify the API crash course. And if you're a Marketo user, which I'm guessing you are since you're watching this video, you should check out the Marketo API crash course I have as well. And as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, then please subscribe.